Has he done that's good? Nothing. Has anything that he's done turned out? Everything he touches turns to shit.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Ferris, 23-year-old conservative activist, host of Speechless, the radio show, but also right here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, Facebook, wherever you're watching from. And to make sure you don't miss a minute of anything that we're going to talk about here today, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff, because we're going to talk about things here today in a way that no one else does. That's why, at a minimum, make sure that you're on X. If you are watching on X, once again, do not forget to like this video. Hit that heart right down there. Reshare it, retweet it, whatever you want to call it. Do that. Share this video with your friends. I'd really appreciate it. But we have a lot we're going to talk about today. World War III, are we approaching it? Iran attacked Israel. President Trump responded, but Biden even kind of predicted it. What did he do? We're going to get into all of that. But that first video that I started off with today is President Trump at his rally last night in Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at it one more time. I don't know if I cut it off quick enough, but there is a little bit of profanity in it. So sorry, I know it's a family-friendly show, kind of, a little bit, not really. But let's take a look once again at this video of Trump last night in Pennsylvania, right here.
What has he done that's good? Nothing. Has anything that he's done turned out? Everything he touches turns to shit.
Everything he touches, President Biden, everything he touches turns to S-H-I-T. Man, and a lot of people seem to have a comparable belief in that. I'd say maybe even close to 51% of Americans. I know that's been trending on Twitter a lot today. But let's talk about Iran and Israel. Before we get into everything that actually happened just yesterday, the insane terrorist attacks that happened, I want to start off with this clip. This is a clip from Rush Limbaugh's show back in 2020. And while Trump was still president, he was asked questions like, what is going to happen? Like, if Iran were to try anything, what would happen? What would happen? And once again, with a bit of profanity, here is what Donald Trump said on Rush Limbaugh's show back then. Here's that.
Right. And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Man, one more time. Let's listen to that one more time.
Right. And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We are going to do things to you that have never been done before. Basically, Trump saying in that moment, F around and find out. That's basically what he's saying. F around and find out. Now, fast forward to today. Back then, what had happened? We had the Abraham Accords between Israel and surrounding Islam nations that basically created a sense of peace in the Middle East. 4 years later, under President Biden's leadership, what do we have? Yesterday, out of the Daily Wire, the Islamic Republic of Iran launched a drone strike, as well as fired several missiles against Israel on Saturday in response to Israel killing a top Iranian general, who allegedly played a key role in Hamas's October 7th terrorist attacks. Israeli officials said that it will take several hours before drones were able to reach Israel. And given the defensive assets that Israel and the United States have deployed, there's a strong likelihood that most, if not all, drones will be shot down. Many were. U.S. officials originally estimated that 50 to 75 one-way suicide drones were launched, but that number now appears to be well over 100, as officials believe that a combination of 400 to 500 drones and missiles were launched at Israel from several countries where Iran has terrorist proxy groups. The majority of munitions are being launched directly from Iranian soil. Shortly after, Iran launched a massive attack on Israel, firing missiles along with hundreds of suicide drones. At the United States, ally former President Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social. This is what he had to say. He said that the attack would have never happened under his leadership. Quote on Truth Social, Trump said, "Israel is under attack. This should have never been allowed to happen. This would have never happened, all in caps, never happened if I were president, said Trump. And in fact, his national press secretary for his campaign echoed that same sentiment on Fox News during an interview earlier today. Let's take a look and a listen at this clip from Trump's national press secretary on Fox News earlier today, right here.
Was made aware of the attack on Israel last night on our way to his rally in Pennsylvania. And he made it a priority to ensure that those remarks were at the top of his speech to express 100% support for Israel. And as he expressed last night in Pennsylvania to a massive crowd of people that were on their feet clapping and cheering, is that the sad truth is this would have never happened to Israel if President Trump were still in the White House. Just a few years ago, there was peace in the Middle East. President Trump got Arab nations to come to the table to negotiate peace deals with Israel that never spoke before he was the negotiator in chief. He signed historic sanctions on the Iranian regime, cutting off the neck of the Iranians. They had never been more weak, more broke. And just in a matter of a few years, Joe Biden has reversed all of President Trump's very effective policies. And now they have been emboldened. And we've seen that aggression. The world is in chaos right now because of Joe Biden's weakness. And it just shows how petty and ridiculous this trial that we have starting in New York is tomorrow. When the world is at war, when our border is under invasion by terrorists and criminals, when inflation is increasing, the Democrats and Joe Biden are focused on prosecuting the former president of the United States.
Exactly. Where are the priorities of the president of the United States, of the executive office? I can't even just say the president of the United States anymore, because you and I both know that he's not really the one in charge, that he holds so little actual power himself. However, the power he does hold is to show the world the kind of strength America is supposed to have. However, he's not. Just as that press secretary said, Joe Biden has been weak on every single issue. The only thing that he'll actually stand for is to try to throw his political opponents in jail. And this is a perfect example. What happened with this Iran attack? In fact, he knew it was going to happen. During the Friday dump, which, if you're not familiar in the media, the Friday dump is when a lot of news is put into circulation on Friday afternoons in hopes that the majority of the public will not notice it because they're getting off work, they're starting their weekend, having a good time, everything like that. But, oh man, when there's a huge attack on Saturday against Israel, people are going to notice when you said this, Biden. What did he say? Well, this is what Biden had to say on Friday, the day before the attack, just 2-3 days ago. Let's take a look and a listen to this clip just a few days ago, before the attack. Once again, this is before the attack. Here's this.
Mr. President, to Iran in this moment.
Don't.
Are American personnel and assets at risk, Mr. President? Mr. President, are American troops at risk as well?
I always love when he does this, is like he opens it up to questions that he's not supposed to actually answer because his handlers don't want him to. And then he starts walking away, and then he hears one, and he's like, oh man, this is my chance. This is my chance. Bumbling Joe Biden, gonna tell everybody. This is what I'm going to tell him. And then he thinks he's going to come back, and then he makes a fool out of himself. Watch this.
We are devoted to the defense of Israel. We will support Israel. We will help defend Israel, and Iran will not succeed. Thank you very much.
What would trigger a direct U.S. response, sir?
Well, once again, what did he say at the very beginning? The question being asked of him is, do you have a message for Iran? And this is before the attack yesterday. Do you have a message for Iran? Joe?
Mr. President, to Iran in this moment.
Don't.
That was his message to Iran. Now, just for contrast, I want to go back to what, so Joe Biden is, don't. And then immediately after that, yesterday or Friday afternoon, he flew to a beach, to a vacation, of which about half of his presidency, 50% of his presidency, has been a vacation. Now, let's go back to 4 years ago. 4 years ago, 4 what are really short, but feels like an eternity ago, years ago. This is what we had. Reminder.
Right. And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
And then, oh man, every time they messed around, it was Qasem Soleimani al-Baghdadi has been killed. He died like a dog. He died like a dog. Probably one of the most wimpy deaths. They're saying, I'm not saying it, but I hear other people saying it. That he died like a dog. We had our dogs, beautiful, the most beautiful dogs, American patriotic dogs. They say they're German shepherds, but we know they're pure-blood Americans. They went and killed the Iranian official, al-Baghdadi. Al-Baghdadi, yes, died like a dog. That's what we had. And now we have bumbling Joe Biden who gets up at a podium and says, don't. Please don't. Like Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. That's what it reminds me of. I don't know if you guys, maybe I'm making myself seem older than I am, but Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, when Gene Wilder, you had all these, like the people are asking, they're like, oh my God, are you gonna stop these kids from throwing a fit? And he just stands there and he goes, no, please don't stop. That's Joe Biden's level of enthusiasm for telling Iran prior to the attack. He knew this was going to happen. I guarantee you our intelligence knew this was going to happen. And that's why they were asking, do you have any messages for Iran? And he was like, no, please don't stop. What a dummy. What a dummy. And then we have people like United States National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications, John Kirby, who goes on Stephanopoulos' show on ABC. And this is what he has to say just this morning when asked a little bit about Joe Biden saying don't. Now, after the attack, this is one of our national security advisors. This is what he has to say to the question of what does that say? If Joe Biden says don't and they still do, what does that say about us? Here's that.
The president also called on Iran not to retaliate, but they did anyway. What does that tell you?
Well, again, what it tells me, as I looked at last night, what it tells me is that we can make good on our commitment to defend Israel. It tells me that Israel does have superior military capability. Just think about the hardware that Iran threw into the sky and how little damage that caused. I mean, that's a real testament to how strong the IDF is.
The president also called on Iran.
So that's what it is. The question, once again, the question.
Not to retaliate, but they did anyway. What does that tell you?
President said no, they did. What does that tell you? Well, what it really tells me is that our president of the United States doesn't even have verbal authority. He strikes no type of leadership, feelings of leadership or fear. Not that we need a president to be afraid of, but we want our adversaries to be afraid of what our president could do, having that finger on the red button. Iran knows that Joe Biden is a weak little, I don't want to say it, family-friendly show, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So that is what it tells us. John Kirby sits over here and says, well, what it tells us, Georgie, is that we can now just keep funneling more of your taxpayer dollars over to Israel. That's what it tells us. That's what it tells us. Go fund yourself. Go fund yourself. Yeah, go fund yourself. Go fund your own war. Don't make me fund it for you. John Kirby, because that's what he's saying. When he says, look at all their stellar equipment, look at all the stellar equipment that you bought them. And look, I'm not anti-Israel. I want to be clear, too. I'm not anti-Israel. I support Israel in this fight more than I support Islamic terrorists. But at the same time, what I don't support is this idea that we don't have problems in our own country. Our southern border is in shambles. Every other day we're hearing about crimes that illegal immigrants are committing, or even legal citizens killing cops in Memphis. And they're just all of a sudden back out on the street like it's no problem. We look over at Iran. We look over at Israel, And we say, oh my God, that's so sad. They're like third world countries. We have all these like white suburban moms in the United States. And it's more than just that. I'm just creating the stereotype for the mental image. We have these white suburban moms in the United States. They're like, oh my God, we need to support the people in the Gaza Strip because they're going through such terror. And I'm not going to try to minimize what they're going through. It's awful. But go to O Block and see just as bad as some of the worst parts of the Gaza Strip. America isn't doing all that great either. And over 51% of Americans, as Twitter says, think that same way. Seriously. Now, not only will Biden and everybody else not do anything, it seems like a lot of other people won't do anything. And I'm going to talk about that. But Congress does seem to be ready for action. Here's how Congress is responding to Iran's attack on Israel. Members of Congress changed plans for this upcoming week and issued statements on a reaction to Iran's attack on Israel this weekend, prompting the United States to help its ally fend off the onslaught. The GOP-controlled House will, quote, move from its previously announced legislative schedule next week to instead consider legislation that supports our ally Israel and holds Iran and its terrorist proxies accountable, announced Majority Whip Steve Scalise, the Republican from Louisiana. I believe even Mike Johnson, our Speaker of the House, said that he is ready to fund more to Ukraine and Israel, which I've already voiced my distaste for. And this is why I say consistently, that I am not a Republican and I by no means am a Democrat. I'm a conservative. And people will often ask me, what do I want to conserve? America, its founding principles, Judeo-Christian values, and my own money, which is why when it comes to funding these wars, I'm highly skeptical, and that's an understatement. But right now on Twitter, something that has consistently been trending is this idea that nothing ever actually happens. I'll actually go onto Twitter right now to show you guys that this is trending. If we go here, we can see nothing ever happens. I'm going to pull it up on screen for everybody right now. You can see, I'll pull it up bigger. You can see right here, nothing ever happens is trending major on Twitter. And what this mainly has to do with is this level of apathy. You can see here, nothing ever happens being related to a significant number of, oh, you can see it's even trending with me. That's cute. But nothing ever happens, meaning that no matter who's in office, no matter what we see, nothing ever really happens. You can see people like Nick Fuentes, who I'm not a fan of, but we'll play this clip real quick just to see what he's yelling about.
The vaccinated have not mass died off yet. Israel has not been destroyed. CERN has not opened a portal to hell. Russia's not taken over Ukraine. There is no nuclear war. Hillary Clinton is alive. What the fuck?
Oh, well, I did not know that it was going to get that spicy in terms of what Mr. Fuentes had to say. But in turn, and while I don't agree with him most of the time, he has a certain level of a point in that specific clip. In the idea that we're consistently told all these lies. And this is why my first question on this title of this video is World War III, ? Nothing ever really happens. Maybe, look, there is a clear line that could show how World War III could happen. There's a clear line showing that if we were to get further involved in Israel, that could trigger Iran. When it comes to Ukraine, if we get further involved in Ukraine, that obviously is already triggering Russia. If we have boots on the ground, and then if China invades Taiwan, well, that'll pull us in through Taiwan. There is a clear puzzle that could be connected to make it look like World War III could happen. But we're told all these things from both the right and the left media. We're told things by both the right and the left media. We're told that by the right that that the vax could do certain things. I can't talk about it on YouTube, but you know what I mean. And like Fuentes said, not everybody's died off. We're told by the left that the world's going to die in 12 years. Fear-mongering will consistently be used to control you. So is World War III going to happen? Maybe. Likely not. I don't know. But this idea that nothing ever happens is both good and bad. And here's why. So nothing ever happens, trending on Twitter. It's good for the fact of recognize that fear-mongering will be used to control you. They will tell you a hyperbolized idea of what could happen in the future to try to swing you a certain way. It might happen. It's likely that it won't, depending on how realistic it sounds. The second thing, though, is that this nothing ever happens idea without a check on it will create an imbalance. And that's what we see. The idea that nothing ever happens is what plagues a significant portion of Americans, in the idea that we have a very apathetic public right now. We have an apathetic public that when an election comes around, they don't even vote because they feel like, oh, my vote doesn't matter. I don't know enough, which they might not, but that's in and of itself, not knowing enough is a level of apathy because nothing ever happens. What's the point? It's all going to stay the same. The fact of the matter is who you put into power will change things. And now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that America is going to be gone and decimated if Joe Biden gets another 4 years. I don't believe that. Now, will it look vastly different and will there be further encroachments onto our freedoms? Absolutely. And will it lead us down a worse path? Absolutely. Nothing ever happens isn't right, but it's also not wrong. And so we need to check and balance our apathy. Or just stay off Twitter, because that might help too. But that's my thoughts on that so far when it comes to Iran and all of that. Man, it's been quite a whirlwind. And I'll be honest with you, Iran, Israel, the Middle East is not the main issue I'm concerned with. Now, it's one we should consider, and it will have some level of an effect on the 2024 election. But it is being used as fodder. It is being used as political fodder and the shiny object that the news will use to get you away from all the issues that we should actually be caring about. What's going on right here domestically? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I want to make sure I say hello to everyone in the comments section. I am live right now. Make sure you guys are filling up that comment section. I see always amazing conversation happening in there, and I will try to get to as much as I possibly can of it. And I get to see so many amazing friends in that comment section. So let me see who we got. I see Demon Girl, who isn't real. More stud muffin than a twice baked potato. Thank you, Demon Girl, who isn't real. My girlfriend would agree. Missed you too, Andrea. You're the best. Thank you for tuning in. I missed you. And I will address for anybody who did not know, one of the reasons why I haven't been as consistent doing live streams on Sunday nights like I usually would is because I have actually been planning and getting ready, and I will be moving soon. Not necessarily. Will be doing the show. I will still be doing content, but I'll be moving to Virginia so I can attend law school at Liberty University. I am so unbelievably excited, and also to be able to share that journey with everybody here. And so to make sure you guys don't miss a minute of any of it, keep liking this video, like all the videos you see of mine. Share all of it. Comment what you think. Subscribe. I'd really appreciate all of that. And if you want to support me and my journey through protecting freedom, and doing so not only by just sharing this content in a different way, but also by helping me maybe even get through law school. If you have the means and you would like to support me and the show, consider donating and contributing and being a part of this movement and putting some more skin in the game by taking part with my Venmo or Cash App. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could do so. I'm not going to beg, but I always give it as an option because it would help me invest more, get these messages out to more people, invest in myself, invest in the show, and overall, an investment in me is an investment in us, an investment in our country, and an investment in the future of this country. So if you would consider, I'd appreciate it. I got more to talk about. We're going to get to more, but I want to make sure I get to some more comments first because I see some more amazing conversations. Great Trump. I went to see, you saw Trump in Pennsylvania yesterday. You know, I opened up this show with a clip of the greatest president in my lifetime. And he said, when it comes to Joe Biden, everything he does turns to shh. Everything President Joe Biden does turns to shh. Family-friendly show. You know what I'm saying. You know what it is. And it does. So, absolutely. And I hope you had a great time there. Remember when Kalamata told illegals don't come, something she has never said in her life? That's funny. White suburban liberal moms are Chardonnay Antifa. I love it. That's hilarious. Trump Kev has Riz. Thank you. Thank you, Demon Girl. I appreciate that. You're quite nice. Oklahoma Chicken Cam, thank you for joining. Always love to see you. Iran would have been completely different if we had overthrown their democratically elected government in 1957. If we hadn't. Yeah, potentially. I got to be honest, I don't know as much. This is why a lot of times I get bored with the Middle Eastern topics quickly. And I know that's bad. I know it shouldn't. But like, if you were to ask anybody who's kind of a politico about stuff, they'll tell you there are some topics that just don't interest them that much. And the reason for that is because just like some people like some movies more than others, some people like other books more than others. We like some topics. We like talking about some topics. We have more passion for some topics more than others. And one of mine is not the Middle East. I will be honest with you about that. It's interesting, but still not my most favorite cup of tea. Yep, I wore my anarchist flag to the Trump rally, but it was cool. Well, good for you, Andrea. Still fascinating to me. Yeah, you're an anarchist. Don't you not even want Trump to win the election then? Because if Trump wins the election, it solidifies the idea that we have a government, which is inherently anti-anarchist. Just saying. Love you, Andrea, but I have to point that out. Bless you, Kev, and your family. Thank you, JRC. Bless you as well. If only all of this was just a bad dream. I agree. But here's the thing, is even some of the people in woke Hollywood are getting fed up with Biden and the state of the country. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be going to Trump's side, but they are getting fed up. And it's happening a lot more than you think. Some of them are just more vocal about it than others. One specifically comes to mind and has been making some headlines for it. And he's somebody that I always thought was seemed like a cool guy, seemed like he could be a good person. Maybe disagreed with me on some things, but overall seemed like I said, like a good person. And that is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Earlier this week, out of the Daily Wire, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson says he's unhappy with the state of America and will not endorse Biden again. After endorsing President Joe Biden's run against former President Donald Trump in 2020, actor and WWE star Dwayne Johnson said he will. I love how they say actor and WWE star. And I know this might be I know for a fact it is a digression. But this is also a controversial opinion. I believe it is redundant to say actor and WWE star because those are essentially one and the same. But anyways, like I said, I digress. Dwayne Johnson said he will not throw public support behind the president in the 2024 election. The Rock told Fox and Friends Friday morning that while he thought endorsing Biden in 2020 was the best decision for him at that time, he's now unhappy with the current state of the U.S. Now, take a look and a listen to that clip right here on Speechless. And while you're watching, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, and share it with your friends. Here's this.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
There will be no endorsement coming this year from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Like I said, that also means that he will not necessarily be endorsing Donald Trump either. But I think this is, in and of itself, is an important step. And in a way, is a pseudo endorsement for Donald Trump. The Rock's comments to Fox News come months after he said he has friends in Hollywood who do not support Biden but remain loyal to the Democrat Party. He said a few months ago on Joe Rogan's podcast, "Dude, it's the craziest thing. I have friends who support Donald Trump and I have friends who support Joe Biden." Rogan then interrupted and asked Johnson to clarify if he really has friends who support Biden. Johnson replied, "No." Oh, no. That's a good check because that's important. This is an important context. He said, "I have friends who are loyal to the Democrat Party," he added. Johnson, who considers himself an independent and centrist, endorsed Biden and Kamala in 2020 in what he said was his first ever public endorsement. Interesting. Now, again, this is not, I always like to say I don't love when celebrities voice their political opinion in an unnecessary time. Now, if they have something in their life that makes them predisposed to potentially sharing a political opinion, go for it. Like if, excuse me, I know I've talked about this before. There was a Dodgers player that when they had these Pride nights and everything, he came out and said that he was against that he was a firm Christian and did not support the Pride nights. And I was like, that's a good thing that he does that. It's good that he shows that political opinion, because it was not about endorsing a candidate or telling people this is the way you have to think or act or live. It was simply, the franchise I work for is doing something that I disagree with, and I find it important to voice my disagreement. That's when it's okay. So I have a certain level of respect for Dwayne Johnson now coming out and even coming close to apologizing for endorsing in 2020. And now he's basically saying, yeah, I'm never doing that again because the state of this country is poor. And that's not an endorsement of Trump in a way. And what do I mean by that? What Dwayne Johnson is doing here is not endorsing Trump while endorsing Trump. Because what he did is he endorsed a guy in 2020 and then now said, the state of this country is not that good. My endorsement was not good. Basically what he's saying. Now, he's not coming out and being like, you have to vote for Trump, but he's saying what happened now, what we have now is worse than I thought it was going to be. And so I think we need a change. He's essentially saying that. So he's not endorsing Trump. Very interesting. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments. That was just kind of a little quick story. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson comes out and doesn't not endorse Trump, but definitely did not endorse Biden. Very interesting. Keep those comments coming, guys. I'm interested in what you guys have to say about any of this, no matter where you're watching from. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, follow me, share, comment, all of that stuff. I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt, unless you're some kind of loony liberal. You can probably read what's at the bottom of the screen right there saying like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you feel so inclined, maybe follow one or all of those asks. I'd appreciate it. We got more we're going to talk about here today on Speechless, and I'm your host, Kev Ferris. If you're just tuning in, no matter where you're tuning in from, I am a 23-year-old conservative activist, soon-to-be law student, going through the news and what's trending, what's going on in the world in a way that no one else really does. And that's why I'm here, is because no one else talks about the world with such candidness, especially no one my age. And I think it's important that other people that are similar to my age will know that or can know that there's someone else like them out there. So I think that's important. So share this video with your guys' friends. Don't forget, like I said, please like retweet it and stuff like that if you're watching from Twitter right now. I got some other stuff. I also produce my own show, and so that's why I kind of take some of these breaks and I check out the comments and everything like that, because I gotta pull up what my next story is and the next thing we're going to talk about, because I find it important. I covered a little bit earlier last week with Breakaway USA. Also, guys, go check out Breakaway USA today. Breakaway USA is doing a lot of great content on everything. Thank you, Andrea. You're the best. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm opening this because earlier this week with Breakaway USA, and once again, go check out Breakaway USA. They're doing a lot of amazing work. They brought me on as a contributor, and I love it. I think it's a lot of fun. I get to talk with some great people about a lot of different cool things, and so I really love that. But along with that, I also just like have a lot of fun doing this content too, and so they let me kind of do both, and we have a lot of fun. But I digress. Earlier this week, I talked with them. And one of the things we talked about was the day that O.J. Simpson had passed away. O.J. Simpson had passed away. And so we're going to cover that a little bit more, but also build upon that story. Let me just make sure I have everything set up here so that we can talk about it and get it all ready. If I get taken down anywhere, guys, make sure that you are still following the Rumble at Speechless Kev. Pretty much anywhere you can find me at Speechless Kev, and follow everywhere because I could get banned one day. I know for a fact I'm getting shadow banned right now on Twitter. I'm sorry, not on Twitter. Twitter is like the one that's pretty free. I'm getting shadow banned on YouTube. Like everything I can tell you, like the views and stuff and I'm even getting told by other people that they're not getting notifications for my videos. They don't realize that things have gone up. And it's because YouTube doesn't want you knowing about the things that I am talking about. Seriously. And they might want you to know about it, but they don't want you to know about it in the way that I'm talking about it. So make sure you go follow me everywhere because then you'll be able to see and be reminded to go check out the YouTube and everything. I'd appreciate it. But let's talk about this. O.J. Simpson has, in fact, died. Seriously, O.J. Simpson has died. Why is this so important? Why? Like I said, we're going to talk about that and a lot more right here. I'm just pulling up these different clips and everything. That's a little loud on my end because I'm pulling this up. Ooh, just had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Okay. Everybody, the juice is no longer loose. The Bronco is out of gas, and we can finally figure out if the glove fits. Former NFL running back Orenthal James Simpson, better known as O.J. Simpson, has died after a battle with cancer, his family announced Thursday on social media. On X, a post from his official account said, quote, on April 10th, our father, Orenthal James Simpson, succumbed to his battle with cancer. He was surrounded by his children and grandchildren during this time of transition. His family asks that you please respect their wishes for privacy and grace. Simpson, who is 76 at the time of his death, achieved national fame after becoming a college football star and later playing with the NFL for 11 seasons, mostly with the Buffalo Bills. He's considered to be one of the greatest running backs in franchise history. Now, if that's all you knew O.J. Simpson for, then I am sorry to burst your bubble, but there was something that he ended up getting a lot more notorious for, and that was the murder of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown, and her friend, Ron Goldman, in 1994. The pair were found stabbed to death outside Nicole's condo in Brentwood. Simpson was arrested and charged with murder, but was later acquitted following a high-profile trial. And that was in criminal court. In civil court, he was found guilty. Simpson is survived by 4 children from 2 marriages, including Sydney and Justin, who he shared with Nicole Brown. One of Simpson's sons from his first marriage drowned in 1979. In death, O.J. is as controversial as he was in life, with many celebrating his death, like Caitlyn Jenner, who posted on X, good riddance, Caitlyn Bruce Jenner. But I really guess, I think it's funny, because no one told Caitlyn that OJ's famous moment in a car didn't end with a fatal crash. Just saying. But say what you want about O.J. Simpson. It's probably true if it's negative. But he was a pro athlete. He was an actor. He was a sports commentator. He was a 1993 white Ford Bronco enthusiast. He survived a suicide attempt. He murdered 2 people and got away with it. And then he went to jail for 8 years for stealing his own stuff. That's a real story too. In 2008, on 12 counts of armed robbery, and kidnapping. for 2 sports memorabilia dealers at gunpoint in a Las Vegas hotel. He was trying to steal back his own sports memorabilia, and that's what he went to jail for, not the murder or anything. And then he got out of jail and became a Twitter troll. Seriously, go look after you're done watching my live stream. Go look at OJ's Twitter before he died. He was a troll, an absolute troll. He got asked about I'll pull up. This is not what I was gonna talk about, but we're gonna pull it up here, and we're gonna look at when he was asked about the Murdaugh trials. OJ Murdaugh. You guys know the Murdaugh trial that happened last year. Everybody was talking about it. It was like kind of a big deal. On Twitter, he had a post that he made, and it was because people were asking him about the Murdaugh trials. We're gonna find this here real quick. And then we'll get back to the rest of this story too, because I have more to talk about when it comes to OJ. We're going to go and find the tweet here. And we're going to get this up because I'm curious what you guys think about why it's just not letting me find it. OJ Murdaugh. I'm finding it here for you guys. Here it is. Okay, we're going to share this tab. Get it ready. This is actually from OJ's Twitter account. Like, I'm not even kidding with you. This is actually OJ's Twitter right here. We're going to just watch some of this clip. I just thought it was so funny.
Hey, Twitter world, is me, yours truly. Well, a whole lot of people asking me what I think about this Alex Murdaugh trial. I don't know why they think I'm an expert on it, but I got to admit, when he took the stand, a guy who's an habitual liar, I did watch when the trial first started. I watched him take the stand, and I thought it was probably a mistake because the guy is an admitted liar, and it's hard for me to think he can be on the stand 5, 6, 7, 8 days without lying. Question is, what did he lie about?
And then he goes on to continuously give as if he's some level of an actual expert. OJ Simpson is by no question about it, is he some level of a narcissist and believes and thinks very, very highly of himself. But I think it's important to talk about this guy because yes, he lived a full life with all of those different accolades that I mentioned. But it's important to talk about this man because of the profound impact that he had on race relations in the United States. And so I wasn't even alive during the OJ Simpson trial and everything, but I've done quite a bit of research and especially it's a fascinating legal study into who this man is. And so we're going to talk briefly about what happened because it was coming off in LA of the Rodney King riots. The Rodney King was murdered by police officers. It was deemed racist, and I believe it actually was. And then we had OJ Simpson, a black man who was arrested for killing 2 white people. And a pretty successful black man as well, who's arrested for killing 2 white people. The fact of the matter is his race shouldn't have had anything to do with this. However, when you have Johnny Cochran, who is known for being very much of a civil rights leader, he comes in and he plays the race card the entire trial. In fact, when even one of the officers, Officer Furman, had tapes of him prior, one of the officers that was at the scene of Nicole Brown's murder, there were tapes of him saying racial slurs. So Johnny Cochran decided to make this an entirely racial case when none of it really had anything to do with it. And because this trial was entirely televised, it became something that everybody had an opinion about. Now, many people think that the Trump years are what stoked division, and that's what created racial divisions. Even some conservatives claim that it was Obama. No. The racial divisions that we see today go back a long time. And this idea of demonizing white people when things are actually relatively equal goes back to the 90s. and persists today. And the death of O.J. Simpson has made that abundantly clear. And so if we look at clips like CNN anchors, like making some of the most terrible comments. Let's take a look at this one right here. She says the quiet part out loud in this one, this CNN host, when discussing the death of O.J. Simpson.
And it's also just worth noting how much was impacted by this trial, Jake. So many things happened. We saw policing changing here in the city. And it's also worth noting, because of that unrest, that racial unrest in the 90s, that is why so many people who may not have been invested in O.J. Simpson were just happy to see that someone who was rich and famous and black could get away with what other people did in the system as well, too.
Somebody who is black could get away with it. Is that what we want of our justice system? A system where, because of the color of your skin, you can get away with it? No, no one should get away with it. Alex Murdaugh didn't get away with it. People who did, it's a problem, no matter their race. OJ being one of them. And then you also have people like this, which is a CNN guest, who also said something absolutely despicable when it comes to that, when it comes to OJ's death and his legacy.
But it was so racially charged because of what had happened just before with Rodney King, but also just how Black Americans feel about policing. It's not like O.J. Simpson was the leader of the civil rights movement of his era. You know, he wasn't a social justice leader, but he represented something for the Black community in that moment, in that trial, particularly because there were two white people who had been killed, and the history around how Black people have been persecuted during slavery. There were just so many layers. And I guess I would just close with this, is that there was racial tension then, there is racial tension now. It might not be the backdrop of the Trump campaign, but until this...
Wait. So we need to take some of this as to what... Go back here. Let's start here.
Black people have been persecuted during this moment in that trial, particularly because there were two white people who had been killed. And
so this is important because two white people have been killed. So that makes it automatically a race thing, just because people of different races have been killed. And then all of a sudden slavery has to do with it.
The history around how Black people have been persecuted during slavery. There were just so many layers. And I guess I would just close with this, is that there was racial tension then, there is racial tension now.
Why is that? Maybe it's because we over-racialized a trial in which a man murdered two people clearly, and it got turned into a dog and pony show because it was talked about as if it was a racial issue, when in reality it was a pretty open and shut case.
It might not be the backdrop of the Trump campaign, but until this country is ready to actually have an honest conversation about the racial dynamics from our origin story till today, we will always have moments like O.J. Simpson that manifest, and our country will always be divided.
And then it's all of a sudden Trump's fault because we're not able to have honest conversations. Now, what anybody usually says that is people aren't able to have honest conversations. What that usually means is that nobody's willing to hear you talk and automatically agree with your opinion. An honest conversation, by definition, would mean that we can have a conversation in which we have a difference of opinion and we come to a conclusion that might even just be we agree to disagree. That's an honest conversation. What this woman wants and what others want is for you to go blindly and clap along like baby seals at a crappy aquarium that says, sorry, I didn't mean to insult the aquarium like that, but just clapping along like baby seals say, yeah, white people are racist, or all white people are racist, or DEI is a good thing, or. No, that's not how it works. That's not an honest conversation. Pull your pants up and learn how to live like a big girl, because I'm telling you, when you go on to fodder like this at CNN, you're gonna be told that you're smart and you're so perfect, and then you're gonna believe that when somebody disagrees with you, they're not having a honest conversation. But that's just what stupid people in the media do. But the thing is that we even can go back to the time. And so when she says that racial divisions it's because we're not having an honest conversation. Maybe we need to have an honest conversation about what happened at the OJ trial, because we can go all the way back to the trial itself and talk about and look and see that the division was clear even then, because we weren't having an honest conversation about why people were happy that he got off and why others were unhappy. Nobody was willing to have that honest conversation. Take a look and a listen to, this is Oprah's show when the verdict was announced back in the 90s.
Case number BA097211. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information. Superior Court of the State of California, County of Los Angeles, in the matter of the people of the State of California versus Orenthal James Simpson. We, the jury, in the case number BA0.
Did you see the difference there? Who was cheering and who was not? And it was because we over-racialized this case to make people act upon their emotions rather than the facts of it. And that's exactly what happened. Don't believe me? Call me a racist. Sit there and call me a racist and say that I'm a racist for believing that. Do it. You want to know why? Because I can prove you wrong right here. They actually did it. There was an interview with a juror of this years and years later, over like decades later. This is what she had to say about this being on the jury.
Do you think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of us.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
That was payback.
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
Do you think that's right? It was payback. It wasn't about OJ. It wasn't about the fact that he murdered anybody. It was because of the way we stoked race relations. So why am I harping on this? Why am I harping on this? Because this is exactly what they do today. This is what the left does. Is they will stoke your biggest divisions and make it seem like it's in some way relevant, but it's not. Race played no factor in the OJ case. OJ, plain as day, he even later admitted that he killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. But yet, people still act as if he was in some way a civil rights icon. Just as much as it's plain as day, George Floyd died of a drug overdose. But somehow, he's a martyr. And Derek Chauvin is an ardent racist when there's nothing about that case that really proves racial hatred or bigotry played a factor in the death of George Floyd. There isn't. Even the arrest. There isn't. Racism is consistently going to be an issue that's at the forefront of American politics as much as we allow it to be. As much as we allow for the left predominantly and progressives to brainwash us into believing that skin color plays more of a factor than people's individual motives and actions that are entirely separate from race. But because race is a shallow, simple scapegoat, it will always be a factor. O.J. Simpson might have died, but the legacy of being incapable of recognizing the shallow games that our politicians play petulantly with us when it comes to race, that will live on. But maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. We're not done here, but I got to take a little bit of a break. I mean, I'm still getting going, but whew. I'm cooking. Let me cook, okay? Let me cook. I'm cooking. We're cooking with gas today. on Speechless, guys. We're cooking with gas. Let's see my next story that I got coming up here about squatters. You guys squat? You guys ever squat or anything? Actually, I got to say, I don't always find all of my own content. Some of the content that I do is because it's brought to me by people that are very special to me. My girlfriend actually brought this next one to me, and she's the absolute best. I will say it. She brought this story to me. She was like, "This one would be so fun. I think you should do this." And I was like, "Okay, I will." So we're gonna do that one next. But I'm gonna go through some of the comments here. OJ equals orange jumpsuit. Maybe. Not totally wrong. I mean, it kind of is. OJ does could mean orange jumpsuit. I see Andrea, you've been kind of quiet. Am I not talking about something that you have many comments on? I want to know what you think too, Andrea. Maybe Andrea, if you would like to, and if I get one super chat from anybody, I will bring Andrea on, and Andrea and I can talk about anarchism. I want to know about her time at the Trump rally yesterday. We could have a great conversation, but one super chat, and I will bring Andrea on. We'll talk about anything. Let's see. 97% of those people vote / live by emotion and not truth, clout and clicks as well. True. OJ made it acceptable to off-whites. Not totally untrue. Kind of. Oklahoma chicken cam. I don't want you to miss a minute. You're repotting aloe vera plants. All good. Aloe can really help, especially Irish guys like me who burn like it's my job. So yeah. Let me make sure I have everything ready for this next part. But once again, one super chat and Andrea can come on and have an open forum. I'll only cut her off if it would get me banned on YouTube. Deal. Let's get all of this stuff ready. And we're gonna, yep, okay, I got this ready. You guys know about Gordon Ramsay? You guys know Gordon Ramsay? I'm gonna talk a little bit about Gordon Ramsay. I want to know what you guys think about Gordon Ramsay today. Once I can get this up here. Okay. We're gonna make sure. Okay. So here you go. If you guys are just tuning in, my name is Kev Ferris, 23-year-old conservative activist, host of Speechless, the radio show, but also Speechless right here, wherever you're watching from, and no matter where you're watching from, go check out my YouTube. It has most of my content. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. But this story today, Gordon Ramsay's pub was taken over by brazen squatters who will threaten legal action if they're evicted. A group of what they call themselves professional squatters have taken over a London pub owned by celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay. And they're brazenly threatening legal action against anyone who tries to kick them out, according to a report. Seriously, this is actually happening. At least 6 freeloaders broke into Ramsay's York and Albany Hotel and Gastropub, which is for sale for $16.1 million, boarded up the windows, locked the door with kitchen utensils, and glued the locks. This is actually happening. They just went in there. But then they're also, you got to just see this. Okay, take a look at this video. It was acquired by The Sun as an exclusive. I'm going to bring this on right here. We're going to just take a look. These are people that actually are the squatters at Gordon Ramsay's. This is just fascinating. Take a look.
I've got nothing to say to you. But why are you here though? Why are you staying here?
just trying to provoke me.
You're staying here illegally, though, aren't you?
So that's the video there. Take a look. You can actually see one of the squatters sleeping on a couch right on in there. And in fact, they even posted a notice. They posted a notice. And so the squatters slapped up a legal warning sign on the front door defending their takeover and cautioned against any eviction attempts, the Sun reports. The invaders say they have a right to be there. The people that don't have any ownership in this building whatsoever have a right to be there since it's not a residential building. They said, quote, take notice that we occupy this property and at all times there is at least one person in occupation. Any entry or attempt to enter into these premises without our permission is therefore a criminal offense, as any one of us who is in physical possession is opposed to such entry without our permission. If you attempt to enter by violence or by threatening violence, we will prosecute you. The notice goes on to say that violation could result in 6 months imprisonment and or a fine of up to $6,200. Of up to $6,200. So, when it comes to this whole story, the weird thing to point out is that technically, they're not breaking the law. The occupation of a person's non-residential property without their permission is not itself a crime in the United Kingdom, where this is. Though police can take action if crimes are subsequently committed, including damaging the property or stealing from it, according to Wales Online. But this is hilarious for a few reasons. The first thing is that Gordon Ramsay, he's not the most liberal celebrity, but he has on multiple occasions made comments against conservative leaders in the UK especially. And so this is kind of what you asked for, Gordon. But there's also a larger plan here. And it's a plan that's kind of a communist one. And so when we talk, and we as conservatives, conservative pundits like myself, and even you yourself, when we talk about the idea of, oh man, these people are communists, or this policy is communist, a huge part of communism is destroying the entire idea of private property. And a lot of ways in which they do that are more discreet. Things like trying to eat away at gun rights. If you can't defend yourself, then you technically could have your property seized at any moment. Eminent domain in and of itself kind of takes away, in some ways, the idea of private property. There's a lot of court cases that go back and forth on how much power eminent domain has. That's a whole different conversation for a different day. But the idea is that if the government can take away your property, do you ever even really own it? I just had this conversation with my parents the other day. They had the city in which they live in telling them they had to have certain things in their house that tests for carbon monoxide and smoke and all these other things. They weren't just smoke detectors; they were extra ones. And I said, while those detectors are probably good and healthy for their house to have, do you really own your house if the government can tell you what you have to put in it? Do you really own your house? No. Now, when we get to this squatters' rights thing, it's another way in which they're seeking to destroy personal property rights in even the most flat out way. And a lot of it comes not necessarily with just allowing your property to be abundantly public, like what happened with Gordon Ramsay in the UK in this instance, but they even are doing it domestically in your most liberal cities. In Chicago, if your property is within city limits and you have squatters in it, and you somehow are able to evict those squatters, you must store the squatter's personal property for 5 days before you can legally dispose of it. Seriously, so if you have somebody camping out in one of your properties, and you get them out of there, you have to keep whatever they might have taken. If they had like a futon or something that they brought in there, or an air mattress that they were utilizing in your property, you have to keep that property for up to 5 days, for at least 5 days, legally. Randos who just set up shop in your property have more rights in this country than you do. Seriously, if you're actually, if you don't pay rent, so like if you're living somewhere and you don't pay rent, your leasing company has less obligation to you than if you're a property owner that has squatters. Look it up. Look it up. It's true. And is this not also the entire idea? I mean, this is at a personal level what's going on at a national level. What we have at a national level right now is no sense of sovereignty. At an individual level, you don't have a sense of sovereignty of personal property. It can be taken away from you. If a squatter comes in it, that squatter has more rights over it than you do. At a national level, we have a border that basically anybody can just hop over. I just saw a video on social media today of people riding a boat through California, and it was a bunch of military-aged men who just hopped off and started running away onto land. They haven't been acquired. We know instances of which illegal immigrants have committed crimes and they get let out of jail as if it's no big deal. That's exactly what happened to Laken Riley's murderer. When I say, and when conservatives say, that many of our Democrat legislatures are at least communist sympathizers, if not full-blown communists, this is what we mean. Not only do they want to, or are they actively taking part in the destruction of American sovereignty, they're also taking part in the destruction of your own personal sovereignty. And part of it is your property rights. That's exactly what's going on with Gordon Ramsay right here over in the UK. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. I'd appreciate it. Whew, now let's get to some of the comments that have come through. I see, I want GR to yell at the squatters like he does with his employees. You are an idiot sandwich. Could be something that he does. Could be, absolutely. Let's come up with some of the next content that we're going to get to here in the next segment. I already got a notification saying that my ability to monetize this video on YouTube will now be restricted. That's just so much fun. Gosh, YouTube. ScrewTube is what I call it, everybody. ScrewTube. ScrewTube is it. But keep bringing those comments, everybody. Keep things coming in. I'd appreciate it. Let's get ready. I'm going to start bringing up my last topic for the day. It's going to be a reaction. It's going to be a bit of a reaction and talk about a specific topic. I don't know if you guys have heard about this one, but just give me a moment to get everything up here, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, okay? Okay. Keep those comments coming, everybody. I'd appreciate it. Let's keep this up. Want to make sure. I know some of my Wi-Fi and stuff might be going in and out a little bit. I hope I'm not lagging too much. If you want to support the show, I'd really appreciate it. Support me and being able to upgrade things. Don't forget Venmo and Cash App right there. If you guys feel so inclined, I'd appreciate it. If you'd consider, I'd really appreciate it. So to help me and my ventures in streaming, in content production, in law school, everything, it would mean the world. And I'm sure and I will be a lot more, if I know that you're supporting the show in some way through that, do not worry. I will be a lot more partial to you in terms of comments. And when I roll out new things like merchandise, everything like that, it would be appreciated. So let's get into this. Have you guys heard of this thing called a work spouse? It's a trend that's kind of taken over, and it's not necessarily super new, but it's also not super old either. And I just felt like it's worth talking about. And so, a work spouse, a work wife, a work husband. Is it okay? We're going to talk about it a little bit more here today on Speechless Reactions. I was scrolling through TikTok, and while I was also trying to make sure that people know to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff for my own content, I found this thing, and I'd heard of it before. I'd heard people say it before, and I just thought it was worth talking about. It's the idea of a work wife or a work husband. So take a look and a listen to this TikTok here that kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's hyperbolizing it a little bit, but it's still a real thing. Let's talk about it right here.
Jim, oh my gosh, I'm so happy we're doing this. So we're gonna go to that place over there. No one else, unfortunately, in the office could show up. So let's go. This is gonna be so fun. I'm so happy. You look so good. So happy we're doing this. This is like weird seeing you outside the office. Wanna hold hands? Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Such a gentleman. No wonder why your wife is obsessed with you. So we could share food together. My husband doesn't share food with me whenever we go out. I'll be home soon, okay? All right, love you. Hubby is home. He misses me. It's so crazy. I tell my husband all the time, like, have a work husband, but like, don't get jealous. Like, you tell your wife too. Do you have any tea on Linda in accounting? Because she is so rude to me. I feel like she's always jealous. What do you?
Okay, so the idea of a work wife or a work husband is that you have this person who is at work with you, and they are like your spouse at work. It's called like having a work spouse. Do you have a work spouse? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious if people have, if this is like a real thing that other people have. But as one of my faithful commenters pointed out, work wives are the key to a happy divorce. And at least from everything I can see, I couldn't agree more. This trend has taken over, and it's been something for a while. But it's also caused quite the division. I'm not going to sit here for a lot of these like stupid trends that I find. I sit here and I tell you, man, like a lot of people my age agree with this. No, not everybody agrees with this. But then you have articles like this one. This is a real article in which, and I'll pull it up here. It's from hospitalityinsights.ehl. And it's quite interesting. Here's the title of it. It's why do we all need a work wife? The not so new workplace relationship. That's actually what this says here. And so if you look, what is a work wife? The concept of a work wife, work husband, or work spouse has become increasingly common in the American workplace. And though it is hard to define, Marilyn Whitman, a professor of business studies at the University of Alabama, explains what a work spouse is a platonic, intimate relationship between two colleagues that is characterized by high levels of disclosure and support, trust, loyalty, and respect. Sound familiar? Quote, at first, it was the same as any other office friendship. You'd eat lunch together and joke around in your free time. It wasn't long before you both had an understanding of each other's issues at work. Through it all, you've developed a kind of language that you two understand. You talk about your outside lives, but sometimes a look is all you need to get away from office dramas and understand what the other is thinking. The work spouse phenomenon is not new and has been featured in many popular television sitcoms, dramas, talk shows, and movies like Law and Order, The Steve Harvey Show, and the biopic on Steve Jobs. Such portrayals of workplace relationships have therefore become an increasingly interesting field of study in communication, psychology, human and organizational. Look, here's the thing is no matter what, I think this is disrespectful to your spouse or partner. And what this really is, and people are going to sit here and they're going to say, Kevin, you're blowing this so far out of proportion. Kevin, you're too religious. You're too conservative. They're going to tell you that. But call me old-fashioned. Do it. I'd actually like it if you called me old-fashioned. Call me old-fashioned. But I believe that the terms wife and husband have significant meaning. And it's earned to some extent. I mean, it's not just granted to you. You earn it through having a significant bond and promising a significant commitment to another person. And to some level, while smaller than other things that happen, what this does is it denigrates the idea of marriage, among other things. But I want to talk a little bit more about, before I get into some of that analysis, let's talk about the benefits of having a work wife. It can be a powerful asset to navigating the workplace. Having a work wife can be a great sounding board for ideas. Having a work wife can be an invaluable source of moral support. Having a work wife can help you maximize your productivity. That sounds weird. Finally, having a work wife can make work more meaningful. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have like relationships with people at your work, but to use such a sanctimonious term, a term that has such weight to it as wife or husband, it at a minimum, if it is not actually indicative of some level of infidelity, which I believe it to be. I believe that in a way, this constitutes a level of emotional infidelity. If not actual physical, it's at least an emotional infidelity where it says to some extent, hey, like, this is my person. If there's even the slightest hint of an issue in my marriage, this is the person I'm going to go to. That kind of seems to be the vibe I get from this, to use my own generational term. But if it's not actually that act of infidelity, then it's one of these two things. It's either elevating the idea of a casual friendship to the level of marriage, or it's lowering the idea of marriage to the level of a casual friendship. I'll say that one more time. If having a work spouse is not an actual act of infidelity, which I think it is, but if it's not, then it's either elevating a casual friendship to more than it's worth to the level of marriage, or it's denigrating, decreasing the level of marriage and the worth of marriage to that of a casual friendship. Either of which are blasphemous to the actual holy matrimony that is the bond of man and wife, of husband and wife. The Atlantic, which is a predominantly liberal publication, actually does look down on this idea, but not for good reason. In a headline from The Atlantic, they say the bizarre relationship of a work husband and a work wife. Subheading, the work marriage is a strange response to our anxieties about mixed gender friendships, heightened by norms of a professional environment. And so what The Atlantic says is a work wife and a work husband isn't so great, but it's bad because of sexism. Because our society has this weird thing about being friends, having platonic friendships with men and women. And that's a controversial topic for me. I grew up with sisters. I have friends that are women, but the friends that I have that are women, I'm very close, or for the most part, I'm very close with their significant others as well. And pretty much all of them, my girlfriend knows and is in some way acquainted with. So I'm not saying that men and women can't be friends, but there is that general tension behind it. And I don't think it's uncommon or unnatural. I think when we strive for a monogamous society, or we strive to have monogamy, when it's kind of human inclination to have a certain level of protection over your significant other, over your boyfriend, girlfriend, your husband or wife, yeah, you're going to be skeptical of the platonic relationships that are had. The fact of the matter is there are going to need to be some level of workplace relationships, and likely those were going to exist between men and women. But in the grand scheme of things, women in the workforce is a relatively new concept. Now, not a new concept like it's in my lifetime, but it's a relatively new concept in the idea that women only really entered the workforce in modern America significantly in large numbers in the 1940s. So the entire idea of having a work wife or a work husband is pretty new. So much new is the irony in the foundations of the terminology. According to Timothy Noah, who wrote in Slate, the term work wife and work husband and work marriage entered the national lexicon in 1987 when the writer David Owen, who was also from The Atlantic, who I just said was criticizing the term, he wrote an Atlantic essay describing a particular platonic intimacy through the terms of work wife and work husband. This is a new concept, but it's one that we should squash pretty quickly. Because there are likely going to be people of the opposite sex that work with your husband or your wife. And boundaries clearly need to be set. One of which that I would clearly set is by no means is the colleague of my future wife, is he in any way her work husband? And if he were to ever say that, he'd have a lot of questions to answer. And maybe a pretty protective response. I don't want to make any direct threats right now because who knows how that could serve me in the future, but I had to make it known. That's how it would be. But what do you guys think? Am I totally crazy on this one? I've seen a lot of Reddit threads. There's some people that would tell me I'm a terrible person for being protective and denouncing this entire idea of having a work spouse. I mean, if you look biblically, it's about one man and one woman, and it's insulting. It's insulting not only to the religious aspect of a marriage, but it's insulting to your wife or husband, that you would call anybody else that, even with the precursor of work in front of it. It's absolutely vile. It really is. But like I said, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. Let's get to some of these comments here, though. I see Andrea talking. Work wives. Oh, I love that comment. I'm going to keep highlighting that one. It's funny. Work wives. Absolutely not. It's for women who need constant and incessant attention at all costs. Woo! Andrea coming in hot. They need to start calling it workplace cuckolds. That's a good one. That's a good one. This is why we don't let the vile women vote. The only place they should be allowed to work is Subway or Jimmy John's. Oh my God. For legal reasons, I'm not even commenting on that one. But that's an interesting take, Demon Goral, who isn't real. It absolutely is. I will say I'm getting close to the end of my show today. But I want to know if there's anything else you guys think I should talk about, react to, or anything like that. I will gladly react potentially to some things. I know I got an email from somebody. You guys can always email me, speechlesskp@gmail.com, if there's something interesting that you want me to do a video about, talk about, give a perspective on, anything like that. Even if you want to privately email me or something about a question, comment, concern that you don't want aired on my channels, just hit me up there. And I will do everything I can to get back to you. I just responded to some emails today, actually, from some amazing, I hate to say fans. Like, I don't see anybody, like, I'm not different from any of you that are out there, other than like maybe age, name, gender, sex, sexuality, but you know what I mean? Is like, I'm not not an influencer or anything like that. I'm a student, both actually literally a student, but also a student in terms of I learn as much from anybody who comments on something that I have as much as I learn from an actual professor or anybody else. So I don't know, but leave me comments, everything like that. I always love talking to you guys. Make sure you're subscribing. Check out my YouTube. There will be more videos that come this week. I had some new videos that came near the end of last week. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. God bless you. God bless America. And until next time, you've been watching Speechless.